we just talked about a bunch of things which I am not very confident on predicting the future of. As I said, these are unprecedented times. But there is one extreme danger to this country that I'm very confident is a real fucking danger. And that is what Wiseacre was talking about earlier. He said that Putin is on the trajectory to unravel America. And I would say that our villain of the week this week is on a much stronger trajectory. And I would say it's basically accomplished. And that is someone who has come up on this show before, but we haven't done a deep dive on Russell Vought. And I heard that it might not be pronounced Vought. And I just have to say, I do not care. His name is Vought. It has a negative connotation with it, and we're going to run with that. So Russell Vought, for those who do not know, he is the architect behind Project 2025. And there was a couple of executive orders and moves this week that made it crystal clear what he wants to do to destroy the U.S. government. The first thing is that Donald Trump signed an executive order which claims direct presidential authority over the work of federal boards and commissions designated by Congress to operate without day-to-day oversight by the White House. So, long story short, all of these, letter organizations, the FDIC, the SEC, the FTC, those have historically had a head appointed by the president and then just left off to their own devices and allowed to operate independently. What Donald Trump is doing is saying, no, we are going to oversee all of these agencies on a day-to-day basis. And the person who is going to oversee this is the OMB Director, the Office of Management and Budget. Now, if the Office of Management and Budget sounds like a boring, nothing matters role that you've never heard of before this presidency, that's because it is. It's usually a pretty boring role. But what that person is Russell Vought, again, the architect behind Project 2025. And I want to play this clip for you guys of what Russell Vought said leading up to this election, of what he wants to do as part of Project 2025. So I'm going to share that now. By the way, if you guys watch John Oliver's show last week tonight, this is directly from that, and this won't be new to you. I tried to find this clip myself. Didn't really work out well, but here we go.
We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want their funding to be shut down so that the EPA can't do all of the rules against our energy industry because they have no bandwidth financially to do so. We want to put them in trauma.
That's the stated plan. And thus far, that's exactly what he's doing. Donald Trump is setting it up so that Russell Vought, the man who just said that, is going to be directly in charge and have oversight over all of the agencies which regulate our country. And on top of that, Trump is also the FTC chair. What's his name? Completely forgetting. He replaced it in the con. Andrew Ferguson came out in support of a new legal theory, which essentially says that the president has the right to fire any administrative employee at will. Historically, this has been for cause. The president has needed legally to give some sort of reason, some sort of malfeasance for firing people in these roles at the SEC, at the FTC, all of these people. And it is called, and I wish I could.
The unitary executive theory.
Unitary executive theory. Yeah. That is what it's called, like that theory. But the specific legal thing is called Humphrey's executor. That makes the president need to submit cause for firing these officials. This basically is going to become a Supreme Court case. A similar Supreme Court case was heard not too long ago, where the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that the president could fire the Consumer Protection Bureau, National Labor Relations Board commissioner for at will. But they basically stated, the Supreme Court said, we will not touch Humphrey's executor. This is just a one-off case. And Roberts sided against what Trump is trying to do here. This is a massive case. This entire sequence of events is Project 2025. You strip away the white nationalism, you strip away the Christian nationalism, all of that, all of the other things that Trump is trying to do. This is happening and is going to destroy how America works, because they're going to suffocate all of the regulatory administration that we have, and private companies are going to basically be able to fucking run all over us. And I think this is a battle that's over. I said that Ukraine is. I'm still trying to see what's going to happen there. I think we've lost this battle. I think we're going to have chaos for the next 4 years, and the people who are going to be in charge of building it back up, I don't have faith in them. And I really don't see too much forward out of it. TJ, I've noticed a couple head nods. I went on for a while there, but I think it's all very important information that isn't getting talked enough about. So, you go ahead.
That was great, fellas. What is that squeaking sound? What is
that? That is my dog who got her squeaky toy. She's been quiet all day. Let me take a break here while I grab that from her to stop it from annoying you.
What is going on here? I couldn't figure what that was. Well, all right, we gotta wait for John. So, all right, I'll pull up some comments while we wait for John to get back here. Mark Lauderbeck says the left wing has turned into the neocons. I knew it was sounding like that.
We're hawkish now, huh?
I know, right? It's just like, and no one here is pro-war, obviously.
No.
Just explaining
But we're in America. What are we gonna do? I mean,
the obvious complexities of the situation and everything. And also that's another. I didn't bring that up either, Mark, but another reason that the United States doesn't want to is like the American people have there's no political will for an actual war. Like it is like That's why the only flirtation they do is with the drone strikes and everything, and it accomplishes the same thing for defense contracts like Elon Musk, whatever, or Northrop Grumman. Hey, they get tons of money out of it. Like the people, it's kind of an ancillary thing. But John, what you were discussing with Russell Vought, yes, you're correct. His name is actually Russell Vought. Fuck that. It's Vought. It is Russell Vought.
If they don't care about how names are pronounced,
right? Yeah. It is. It's just, how often do you get an opportunity like this to use Vought like that for an obvious villain and everything? Like if there was someone in his cabinet, like
Lex Luthor.
Exactly. If it's Lex Luthor, yeah. It's like
the bullies didn't know about him before they wrote all of their stuff, did they?
No.
No.
It's oh, you know what? Actually, maybe, because Russell Vought, he's now the director of the Office of Budget Management. Do you know who Trump's first director of the Office of Management Budget was? Russell Vought. He was actually he had the same job in the first Trump administration. I had never heard of him until between the time Trump left office first time and now he's written Project 2025. Which makes it even funnier that Donald Trump stood on stage 1,000 times saying, Project 25. I've never heard of Project 25. Yeah. The guy who wrote it used to work for me, but I've never heard of it or anything like that.
And to be fair, I believe that he just forgot who Russell Vought was at some point. Like I totally believe him.
I also think he's a big fat liar. He's just not good.
I would say it's possible he forgot him, but the fact that he rehired him makes me think that maybe he
kind of rehire him or just other people around him.
Yeah, trust me, trust Don and this guy. He'll be great for us. So John, you brought up what I was going to say when you talked about not only do we have people whose stated goal, it's not a hidden goal, this isn't something they're concealing from us, that yes, we want to destroy the administrative state. And this has been like open secret's the wrong word. It's like Republicans always say this, that they start off by saying the government is bad. Everything that the government provides is shoddy, it's not up to standard. It's awful, so we're going to defund it as much as we can, which leads the government stuff working less. And it's, look, we need to get rid of it. That's the Republican plan for the last 60 years. They do it all the time. And John, I think you're absolutely correct. I don't see the political will to rebuild this. I don't. I mean, the start of this entire process took someone like FDR to get this off the ground. And then it became a monumental success, and people were like, "Oh, this is actually making our lives better." You created our standard of what we call the middle class and everything. Sent a lot of returning white soldiers to college and everything, and got suburbs for white people, and so all this stuff got off the ground. It's like, oh, this stuff works pretty well for us. And now that someone's willing to break through the political will of tearing it apart, no matter what, after it's done, I don't think that the Democratic Party, as we know it today, is going to have the stones to stand up to this. And I just wonder. I wonder how much damage is going to be done here. Let's see if I can share this with you guys here. I saw something shared about a notification, I think, that for Medicare. Let's see if you guys can see this. Ro Khanna shared this, that Medicare will no longer cover telehealth services as of April 1st, 2025. Medicare will stop.
April Fool's Day joke.
Yeah, it's like, what he said, what is the rationale for this other than making life more difficult for many seniors? And he's right. Like, this is just, hey, we're going to make Medicare a little bit worse, just to knock it down a few pegs so people don't like government assistance as much. Are we confident the next Democratic administration, like, oh, we need to really go in here and set this back up? I don't know. Well, what do you think, Wiseacre?
Yeah, I don't know about. I'm never a big fan of trying to predict the future or what people will do, nor try to relitigate a past based on hypotheticals that never happened, because no one can win that. But just some important context. Project 2025 is a plan that went back to 1980 when the Heritage Foundation first did its contract with America with Ronald Reagan. And that's where the unitary executive theory was born. And it's taken that long for it to finally, because all they've been doing is just knocking down walls and pillars and supports, and just for 40 some years, they've been doing that. And now it's already come to fruition because they've successfully finally flushed out the people who were there to try to prop up our structure. They're gone now. They're out. And that's why it's all crumbling now, is because they've been working on it and working on it and working on it with the Heritage Foundation, with what's the guy that does all the judges for what's his name? That has the list of judges. I can't remember his name, but they've been working. Paul Weyrich, who, thank God he's dead, but he worked with Reagan and with Heritage Foundation and with the evangelical Christians to band them all together. Why? It's pretty easy. It's because Christians already believe in things that aren't provable, and they already dislike a liberal mindset because it's pushing out of our religion and our. So it's just been this coupling of these groups. All white people for the most part. Let's be real. But Nixon tried to do it with but he didn't do it well, and he also did some really weird things that you would like, oh, EPA and whatnot. But so it's not been as if this is just a sudden thing that's happened. It's been happening, and it's the slow boil. And all they've been doing is completely reshaping the Republican Party to be something that cares about governance, to a party that is nihilistic and fatalistic. Nothing matters. Everything's going to be bad anyway. Who gives a fuck? I mean, that's really what their attitude seems like.
It is.
They don't care. They don't care what happens to anybody. They think they're going to be fine because they have a new heaven and new earth to look forward to, because almost all of them are Christians. No, literally, almost all of them are. Trump isn't, but he just wants money and power.
That is actually really funny that Trump, that I always joke that it's really funny that our first almost guaranteed atheist president is Donald Trump of all people. It's like, how ironic is that? And I wrote down, Wiseacre, man, you gotta be careful here. You're chasing away our solid white Christian follower base here. Like all the people, I mean, we rely on these people reviews on this channel.
Right,
but
sure. Hey, it's what I grew up in, man. I know all of it. I grew up evangelical Christian. I know this. I know their mindset. Is that this world and government are evil because they're against God. Yeah, it is wild growing out of Christian nationalism and escaping the cult, only to see them take over the damn country. Like, I was like, God, right? I thought I had made it out of these folks, and here you go. Boom, and when I was in it after I left, I'm like, these people are bad people. Like, I literally left Christianity. It was like 15, 20 years ago. And it was because I'm like, they've turned into fatalism. It's Christian fatalism. They don't give a fuck about this world because they don't believe it's real. Yeah. Because that's coming later. And that's exactly how they're dealing with everything right now. This is a little aside, John. Sorry, but what happens when these conversations come up with me? I can't escape it. But
But Riseacre is correct on both counts here. First, when you mentioned how Project 2025 goes back, 40 years to like the moral majority days and everything. And I know a lot of creators are different, but I never actually talked about Project 2025, because not that it wasn't a problem, but because this has been the same thing the entire time. Like they've been growing on these same principles now for decades. And I didn't want to make it seem like, oh, what if they change the name? Right. And then you got to go after the actual policies that are bad. And yes, the Christian nationalist movement, it's not, I hate when people say, well, they're not real Christians. That's kind of a cop out. It gives people cover and shit like that. But the way it's practiced in the United States and what it has brought to light is that this is a civic religion that worships the United Christian conservative white culture in the United States in this particular era, or particular 50, 60 years ago. And they believe it to the extent that it's important to them. I'll put it that way. It is very important to them that they create a society in which women are subservient to men, and they're coerced into submission either by law or by culture, that minorities know their place, that they have a society that worships this idea of physical labor and eschews any kind of intellectual improvement, that no one asks for handouts, that bosses control everything, and that the morality is not horizontal. The morality is vertical. It comes from the top down. You do what the boss says, and the boss is God's representative. They want this. And this is why I get annoyed when I see all of these fuck around and find out videos. There is no finding out going on, because you guys don't realize it. You don't fucking get it. They will gladly live in a nightmare world that you're thinking of. So when you say, wow, you're going to lose your healthcare, they're fine with it. They're fine. It might suck for them, but this is what God wants. You're like, oh, your daughter might die because she had an ectopic pregnancy. Hey, that's God's will. I'm going to see her again one day. There's no convincing folks, unless they leave that faith and leave that philosophy, they're going to hold on to the rest of that stuff. You have to defeat them. Defeating them is the only answer here. There's no persuading them. So sorry, John, go ahead. What were your thoughts on this?
So I know I just said, and by the way, Wiseacre, this is a conference we talk about, Christianity, Christian nationalism, evangelicalism, a lot. And I very much stand on the stump of, I don't believe religious people are telling the truth. I don't believe 98% of them truly believe any fucking word of their religious belief. Because how could they? How fucking could they? It's insanity. They might say it, but if you put Wonder Woman's lasso of truth around them, I do not think
it's all built on fear. You'd be shocked what people will do for being afraid of suffering in hell for eternity.
I get that, but I also I didn't grow up evangelical. I grew up Catholic, but I grew up with that shit.
John, how many evangelicals have to
even
tell
when
you
I
this?
said I believed it, I didn't fucking believe it.
We didn't even think you were Christians. I'll put it that way.
I told him that. Yeah,
we didn't think you were Christians either. So that feeling was mutual.
By the way, I was trying to think of Leonard Leo and the Federalist Society. Sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, I agree with what TJ said very much, that even if, whatever you say, their belief in God, they very much believe that it is important for American society to be structured in this way. They believe that deep down in their core. And the thing that I would like to say, as much as I did just say, hey, it's over. Hey, I don't see how the current Democratic Party could ever rebuild this, because it is being destroyed. And we're going to need to find a way to bring it back at some point. I'm going to give my optimistic case for hope here. And that's that maybe, just maybe, the people doing this are incompetent. And while they have successfully gained the power to do this and are going to do a lot of damage just because they have the power to do so, they are using the Trump term 1 playbook of flood the zone. They are putting so much shit out there, grinding the gears so that they just don't work anymore. But currently, they're doing that through executive order. And the funny thing about executive order is that if they can't retain the presidency, it can be very easily flipped. And even under the current Democrat, even if we got another, normal establishment Joe Biden type, there's going to be the political will to unflip every single Trump switch he made with an executive order. It'll be day one to you'll have the political will to do it. Actually getting it refunctioning again, that's a whole different story. But at least the executive orders will be destroyed. And so the point here is, it's not, unless our entire ideology is incorrect, destroying these things is going to hurt a lot of people.
Yep.
And while the true believers are going to just believe whatever their pastor, whoever tells them, whatever Trump says, that's not enough to maintain power. And we've already seen Trump's approval rating starting to go in the free fall. And we don't know where it's going to end. But if he's unable to maintain his political leverage over 5 Republican members of the House of Representatives, he suddenly lost the chamber. He suddenly no longer has the trifecta to do everything that he wants. And so there is a legitimate case to be made that these people are incompetent. They're going to flood the zone, but they're not going to have the ability to do so in a way that has lasting teeth. And so what they might just do is awaken the political will to rebuild a New Deal. Yeah. That is my optimistic case for what can happen here. A lot of fucking people are going to get hurt, and I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, making the accelerationist argument that that's the best way to accomplish these goals. But they might just be the ones fucking around finding out. What do you think, Wiseacre?
Yeah, I agree with you that they are incompetent. I mean, that's an obvious thing. That's our saving grace, is that they're dumb. I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Fifth Risk. I highly recommend it. It was written before the first Trump presidency, and thankfully there were people in place to prevent everything the book talked about. But what the book talked about is now what's happening. Which is, it's not so much that they're putting incompetent people, is that they're taking away people with decades of experience and year-over-year overlap of carrying on that expertise. Because everyone who doesn't understand the government can easily just believe that it's full of incompetent, corrupt people, because they don't know what it means. It's like looking it's like looking under the hood of a car. You don't know what any of that does for the most part, unless you're a mechanic. And when you're not a mechanic, you can say, I can start pulling this out and that out and doing that. And you don't have anything that functions. Like they don't know and they don't care. The problem is that you're going to lose those people with that institutional knowledge, which is important. Like if you're running any kind of business, an apprenticeship or anything like, it's important to be able to carry on how something is done. Just because someone doesn't understand how it's done doesn't mean it's not valuable. In fact, I'd say the more you don't understand something, the better someone's doing, because you aren't being aware of what they're doing, because they're not fucking up and causing problems. Like, we're starting to be aware of the importance of the FAA because fucking planes came crashing.
Yep.
So that's what worries me, is that I do think that there's a really cool thing called the Formula for Change. I recommend people look it up. It's this interesting sociological sort of idea of what it takes for people to finally change behavior. And I think we're in that area right now where a lot of people are just too comfortable with how things are because they're insulated from it. But Trump is dumb and a battering ram. He's a natural disaster, really. And he's just going to hurt everyone. And they're going to be like, whoa, fuck this. The problem is, like, the rebuild, like you said, I don't know that it's going to be a matter of will. I think there's going to be plenty of people who want to rebuild. It's going to be what we're going to rebuild with. Because when you destroy things, you can't take what was destroyed and build on it. It's gone. It's destroyed. So it's going to be, we're going to have lost all this institutional knowledge and all of this. Like the whole thing with Elon Musk and them saying that there's 350-year-old people that are receiving benefits. Yeah. They don't know anything about the institutional knowledge of how it was built on this really old programming system that had this auto date substitute of 1875 or whatever it was. But like, that's gone. Like, we're going to have to hope that we can retrieve materials that weren't destroyed that talk about like that's what worries me, isn't so much that we will lack the will. It's that it's going to take a lot. Like, when we were a small country of 2.5 million people when we started, it's a lot easier to start with that few people. That's the size of where I live. 330 million people, trying to get them to coalesce and rebuild something is going to be colossally hard.
That's our show, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are watching this video, then I hope you are subscribed to this channel. And if you are not, then guillotine for you. If you do enjoy this show, please, Wiseacre, where can people find you if they liked what you had to say today?
I'm on TikTok. Who knows what account it will be for, but my main account is Wiseacre Design 2. I'm also on YouTube, which I'm trying to build an audience there as well. I'm Wiseacre Design over there. And I'm on Blue Sky as @wiseacre.me.
Thanks so much, Wiseacre. Be sure to check out his stuff, folks. And also be sure to visit Scott's Burgers in Bixby, Oklahoma, where you can see their patented guillotine pickle slicer. Come see it, folks. We appreciate it. Catch you later.